The next speaker is Karina Garcia. Karina is the political chair of the Chicano caucus at Columbia University in New York City. She was a lead organizer for the protests against the racist Minutemen project at Columbia and has become a young leader in the movement for immigrant rights. On October 11, Karina appeared on the radio show Democracy Now! For a one-on-one debate with the founder of the Minutemen, Jim Gilchrist. Karina denounced Gilchrist's violent and racist organization, leading him to flee the debate and cut off his microphone after the first question. At Columbia University, Karina has organized student walkouts and teach-ins advocating for full rights for all immigrants. In the next few months, she will be speaking to student and progressive organizations nationwide to build awareness of the Minutemen and a movement to fight back. So please help me welcome Karina.
Thank you. First off, I want to thank everyone in this room for being here and the Party for Socialism and Liberation, as well as the Answer Coalition for all of their support and their mobilization during that demonstration. On October 4th, Jim Gilchrist, founder of the Minutemen Project, came to speak at Columbia University. On very short notice, nearly 500 people came out to demonstrate while it was raining to make it clear that students at Columbia University, people from the Harlem community, people from New York City in general, would not allow the voices of racism, of fascism, of violence to come about without a militant and sizable protest. That is an important part of the story. The Minutemen had almost no support whatsoever, outside or inside the auditorium. As a matter of fact, their forces were so weak and pathetic that it might be tempting to conclude that a protest movement focused on them is disproportionate. Aren't they just a marginal expression of provocation, some might ask, and might it not be better, that logic goes, to simply ignore them? But the people who came to demonstrate that night, and those of us who took the stage, understand that the Minutemen, in fact, and in spite of their numerical weakness, on the night of October 4th, constitute a very real danger, a very real threat. In the United States, there is a fine line between the right and the ultra-right. And this line is so fine, in fact, that if one examines the course of human history, it is a line that is easily crossed. The Minutemen came to Columbia University and received $20,000 simply to speak. The Republicans on campus were the official sponsor and the funnel for these funds, but I would assert that it is very unlikely, as a matter of fact, virtually impossible, that these funds could come from any student organization. If it was only the Minutemen that we were facing right now, they would indeed be a negligible force. But the Minutemen are, in fact, an armed vanguard for a movement based on xenophobia and racism that is given voice every night on CNN and Lou Dobbs and Bill O'Reilly and other mass-market media that are molding public opinion in a slick and demagogic appeal, first and foremost to the middle class and even some sectors of the working class. And the aim of this campaign is to channel the growing anger and resentment and anxiety that exists in the United States because of unemployment, depressed wages, high taxes, the loss of benefits, including essentials like pensions and health care. All of these phenomena, which are in fact the direct consequence of capitalist globalization, are now being blamed instead on the 12 to 15 million undocumented immigrant workers who have been driven from their homes and their villages by the very same process of capitalist economic globalization and driven to migrate to the United States in search of jobs in order to simply feed their families. It is, in our analysis, not the Minutemen per se, but an organized tendency within the very fiber of contemporary capitalism to divert the middle class and working class with all of their grievances into racist and fascist, xenophobic movements directed not against the real enemy, which would be the banking and corporate elites, but instead to channel this anger towards another sector of workers who, by virtue of their illegal status, are the most vulnerable to attack. I think it's important to recognize, again from U.S. history, the fine line between the right and the ultra-right, that is to say, the political and corporately established right wing. Take, for example, the rise of the KKK. Everyone today, almost everyone today, recognizes that the KKK is a terrorist organization that has inflicted thousands of killings, the majority of the victims being African American. The KKK are a central component of homegrown fascism in the United States. Now, the Klan was largely out of existence as an organization by the 20th century, but it was reborn and became a mass movement by 1915. At that time, it was reborn as an anti-immigrant movement, in addition to maintaining its most virulent anti-black racism. The Klan and their anti-immigrant movement were treated as a legitimate voice in the political discourse in 1915. They had the active and open support of U.S. President Woodrow Wilson, and their message was portrayed favorably in movies such as The Racist, Birth of a Nation. In other words, they used the tools of the mass media to reinvent themselves, and they would have gone nowhere except for the fact that they had the support not only of the U.S. president, but of significant sectors of the U.S. corporate and political establishment. By 1926, just 11 years after the rebirth of the KKK, 40,000 Klansmen marched right down Pennsylvania Avenue in the heart of Washington, D.C., in full Klan regalia, with their white hoods and robes and other paraphernalia that represents racist violence. The Klan proceeded in the 1920s to carry out lynchings against African Americans in the South, against union organizers who attempted to bring the message of the Union to southern factories and mills, and the killing of socialists and communists in the South who were working to merge the struggle between civil rights and worker rights. At each stage in the last 100 years of U.S. history, the Klan and the forces of fascism and extreme racism increased for two reasons. One, because of the support received from sectors of big business and the corporate media. And secondly, their rise or decline is in direct correlation with the rise or decline of the progressive mass movement here in the United States. I believe that the ultra-right and the white supremacist movement, that is to say the homegrown fascist movement here in the United States, has made a decision. They have calculated that the hood and robe and the KKK and the Nazi swastika are symbols that have created a liability, that their mere presence invokes mass hatred and militant opposition. I think history will show that the new anti-immigrant movement, and the Minuteman Project in particular, are the reincarnation of this ultra-right movement. It is attempting to camouflage its white supremacist core by using a different name, different costumes, and the sprinkling of faces of people from oppressed communities amongst their ranks. Instead of the Klansmen in the hood and robe, we have the Minutemen with the rifle, posing in posters as the guarantors of the so-called American way of life at the U.S.-Mexico border. But the people cannot rely on the police or the media or the government, for that matter, to stop the rise of fascism in the United States. We can see from our examination of history that it is only the mobilization of the people themselves that can alter the political climate to stop the expansion of these ultra-right-wing movements. We don't have to wait for the Minutemen to be able to bring thousands of fascist vigilantes all in the same place in order to understand with complete clarity that their success would constitute a historic defeat, not only for Latinos, not only for immigrants, but for all sectors of the working class. When we took the stage and showed our opposition to the Minutemen on the evening of October 4th, we did so because we recognize that this organic tendency towards fascism cannot be ignored. It must be defeated. And now, before I wrap up today, I would just like to ask all of you, can we defeat the Minutemen? Yes. Can we defeat the Minutemen? ¿Se puede? ¿Se puede? Claro que sí se puede y sí se pudo. Thank you.